So Article 1201 states that the choice shall produce no effects except from the time it has been communicated. So once the selection has been communicated, it becomes irrevocable. The law does not require the other party to consist the choice made by the party entitled to choose. The law does not also require to form to be used by the party entitled choose in communicating his choice to the other party. Hence, it may be in any form provided that it is sufficient to make other party known that the selection has been made. It may be made orally or in writing. So in case the person entitled to choose does not make his selection, the other party can ask the court for a third party to choose.
Now I'm going to talk about Article 1202 to 1204. Article 1202. The debtor shall lose the right of choice when among the prescription whereby he is alternatively bound, only one is practicable. In this article, the debtor has multiple choice to fulfill their duties. However, if only one option remains possible, the obligation is no longer alternative. Like for example, Anna owes Jesse an obligation to deliver either a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. Those were the alternative obligation. This time, Anna has a Anna has the right to choose which one to give. However, before she make a choice, the tablet and the smartphone accidentally destroyed. Now, the only remaining option is the laptop. Since there is only one option remain, the obligation is no longer alternative. It becomes a simple obligation to deliver the laptop. Article 1203. If through the Creditors Act, the debtor cannot make a choice according to the terms of obligation, the latter may rescind the contract with damages. Normally, the debtor has the right to choose which obligation to fulfill. However, if the creditor prevents the debtor from making a choice, the debtor is no longer bound to perform the obligation. Instead, the debtor may rescind or cancel the contract and demand damages by the creditor's interference. Like for example, Alex owes Henry an obligation to deliver their car, either a car, a motorcycle, or a bicycle. Alex still have Alex still have the right to choose which one to give. Henry, on the other hand, takes the car and the motorcycle without Alex's permission, leaving only the bicycle. Because of Henry's actions, Alex cannot. I mean, because of Henry's actions, Alex can no longer freely choose among the three options. In this case, Alex may rescind the contract and demands damages from Henry for interfering with his right to choose. Article 1204. The creditor shall have the right to indemnity for damages when through the fault of the debtor. All the things which are alternatively the object of the obligation has been lost, or the compliance of the obligation has become impossible. The indemnity shall be fixed taking as a basis the value of the lost things which last disappear, or that of the service which lost became impossible. Damages other than the value of the last thing or service may also be awarded. Damages other than the value of the last thing or service may also be awarded. This article deals with alternative obligation and what happens when the debtor is at fault for making all the options impossible. In such cases, the creditor is entitled to compensation or indemnity for damages. Like, for example, Maria, the debtor, owes John, the creditor, an alternative obligation to deliver a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. If Maria accidentally destroys the laptop and the tablet, she must still deliver the cell phone. But also, if she loses the smartphones due to her negligence, the obligation becomes impossible. In result, John, the creditor, can demand payment equal to the value of the smartphone, which is the last option that is lost.
So, so Article 1205 states that when the choice has been given to the creditor, the obligation ceases to be alternative from the day when the selection is communicated to the debtor. So, until then, the responsibility of the debtor shall be governed by the following rules. So, first is if one of the things is lost through a fortuitous event, then he shall perform the obligations by delivering that which the creditor should choose from among the remainder, then or that which remains if only one subsists. Then the second is if the loss of one of the things occurs through fault of the debtor, the creditor may claim any of those subsisting or the price of that which through a fault of former has been disappeared with the right to the damages. Third is if all of the things are lost through fault of the debtor, then the choice by the creditor shall fall upon the price of any one of them. Then also with indemnity of the damages, then the same rules shall be applied to the obligations to do or not to do. Then next is effect of the loss of objects of an alternative obligations when the choice belongs to the creditor. First is loss due to fortuitous events. So let's just say that all of the object lost during a fortuitous events, then the obligations of the debtor is extinguished. For example, is X is obliged to give his only phone, laptop, and TV to Y. Then, if all of these were lost through a typhoon, then the obligation of X is extinguished. Then, what if only one of the object remains? Then the debtor must deliver to the creditor the remaining objects. Consequently, the obligations cease to be alternative and it has become a simple obligations. So for example, X obliged himself to give his only cell phone or laptop or TV to Y. And if cell phone and laptop are both lost through a typhoon, then X is liable to deliver the TV. Then it becomes a simple obligations because there is only one object. Next is what if two or more of the objects remains? Then the debtors must deliver that which the creditor shall choose from among the remainder. Consequently, the obligation still subsists, retaining its alternative character. So, for example, X obliged himself to give his only phone, laptop, or TV. If only the cell phone lost through the typhoon, then X is liable to deliver the laptop or um, the TV. Then this time at the option of the creditor Y. So the obligation is still alternatives because there are two objects. Then second of the effects of loss of the objects of alternative obligations when choice belongs to the creditor is loss due to debtor's fault. So what if all of the objects are lost? Then the creditor shall choose the price of any of the objects with indemnity of the damages. So, for example, X is obliged to give his phone, laptop, or only TV to Y. And when through X's fault, all of these objects were lost successively, Meaning, first object was lost is a cell phone, followed by the laptop and the TV. Then the Y has the right to choose the value of each lost objects with plus the damages. Then take note that the ground of asking damages here is negligence, which attached to all of the objects. The next is what if only one of the objects remain. So the creditor may choose the objects which remains, and the debtors cannot be held liable for the damages. However, the creditor may choose the value of any of the objects which were lost plus the damages. So, for example, X is liable or I mean oblige himself to give his only phone or his only laptop or the TV to Y. If only the cell phone and laptop both lost to the negligence of X, then Y as a creditor may choose the value of the cell phone plus the damages, or the value of laptop is the damages. Then the remaining object, however, there is no damages because there is no ground for asking damages. The negligence as a ground of asking damages attached to all this to the cell phone and the laptop and did not attach to the TV. So next is what if two or more of the objects remains? Then the debtor deliver that which of the creditor shall choose from among the remainders, and the debtor cannot be held liable for damages. However, the creditor may also choose any of the objects which were lost, and the debtor is liable for the value of the object plus the damages. So consequently, the obligation still subsists, retaining its alternative character. So for example, X is obliged himself to give his only phone or his only laptop or TV to Y. If only the cell phone was lost through negligence of X, then Y may choose either laptop or the TV with no damages because there is no ground for asking damages. So negligence did not attach to the obligations. However, to Y choose the value of the cell phone plus the damages because the negligence attached to the obligations. So Article 1206 states that when only prestation has been agreed upon, but the obligor may render another in substitute, the obligation is called facultative. The loss or deterioration of a thing intended as a substitute to the negligence of the obligor does not render him liable. But once the substitution has been made, the obligor is liable for the loss of the substitute on account of his delay, negligence, or fraud. Then, effects of loss or deterioration of substitute in facultative obligations. So first is before substitution. So the loss or deterioration of the thing intended as a substitute through the negligence of the obligor does not render him liable. So for example, X promised to give his only laptop to Y. Moreover, he obliged also to deliver his cell phone as a substitute in case he cannot deliver the laptop. Subsequently, the phone was lost through the negligence of X. Then, what is legal effect of this loss? So, X is still liable to deliver the laptop. This is because what is due is still the laptop. The principal obligation as there was no substitution made. So, what if cause of loss of the cell phone is through fortuitous events? Then, is the obligation extinguished? No. X is still liable to deliver the laptop from the same reason that was is due is the laptop. So what if what was lost is the laptop? So it is caused loss through a fortuitous event. Then the obligation is extinguished. But if the cause of loss is negligence of X, then X is liable for the damages. Then take note that there is no substitution yet. Then there is substitution. So there is substitution if the debtor communicate to the creditor, then he will deliver the cell phone on maturity date. Then second is after the substitution. So the obligor is liable for the damages for the loss or deterioration of the substitute of the account of his delay, negligence, and fraud because one of the substitute is made to obligations is converted into simple obligations with substitution things as the object of the obligation. So for example, X promised to give his only laptop to Y. Moreover, he obliged also to deliver his phone as a substitute in case he cannot deliver the laptop. A few days before the due date, X informed Y that he cannot deliver the laptop and he will deliver the cell phone on due date. Take note that after such communication, obligations became simple obligations and no longer facultative obligations. So thus, if the cell phone was lost through negligence of X, then he will liable for the damages. Conversely, if the cell phone was lost through a fortuitous event, then the obligation is extinguished. So there are differences between alternative and facultative obligations. So alternative obligations is several objects are due, then may be complied with by the delivery of one object, by the performance of one of the prestation which is alternative due, then the right of the choice may pertain even to the creditor or the third person, then the loss or possibility of all the objects or prestations which are due without any fraud, any fault of the debtor is necessary to extinguish the obligations. On the other hand, the facultative obligations is only one object is due, then may be complied with the delivery of the another objects of the performance of another prestations is substitution that which is due. Then the right of the choice pertains only the debtor. Then loss or possibility of the objects or prestation which is due without any fault of the debtor is sufficiently to extinguish the obligations.